History has witnessed very many tyrants and dictators. And I want to use the biblical warning of Shebna, and I give a voice to all dictators around the world. Tyrants are transient. True power belongs to the people and the eternal moral laws of the universe. History echoes with the whole boasts of tyrants who believed their empires would span eternity. They carved their names on monuments, build extravagant tombs of gold, and surround themselves with the sycophants who whisper that they are invincible. But human experience, the great voices in history, and the divine witness of scriptures remind all of us that no one escapes the ultimate verdict of history and this cosmos. When you read Isaiah chapter 14, verse 18 to 20 in the Bible, we read that all the kings of the nations lie in state, each in his own tomb. But you are cast out of your tomb like a rejected branch. You will not be buried with them, for you have destroyed your land and killed your own people. Dear brothers and sisters out there, power devoid of justice is never authority. It is merely an illusion that deceives the oppressor. Dictators rule through the corrupting influence of fear, mistaking trembling submission for loyalty. Yet true leaders, those who build nations rather than cages, know that oppression contains the seeds of its own destruction. Booker T. Washington reminded us that you cannot hold a man or woman down without staying down with them. When a tyrant demands total subjugation, they do not secure the future, they guarantee their eventual downfall. The harder an oppressor tries to silence the truth, the louder the spirit of freedom screams from the hearts of the subjugated. I want to tell you something about Shebna, and I want to use the story of Shebna to give a timeless warning to all dictators and tyrants. To understand the fate of every tyrannical ruler, one must look to this ancient biblical account of Shebna. Shebna was a royal steward to King Ezekiah or King Ezekiel. This story is found in the book of Isaiah. Shebna was a high-ranking official, the second most powerful man in Judah. He controlled the royal household. But Shebna's heart was consumed by hubris. He believed his authority was absolute and his legacy untouchable. In his immense pride, he carved an extravagant and prestigious tomb for himself high up in the cliffs. He sought glory, luxury, and permanent place in history, building a monument to his own ego on the backs of the people he was asked to serve. But God was not impressed by Shebna's words or his grand sepulchre. When you read Isaiah chapter 22, verse 16 to 18, it says, "What are you doing here? And who gave you permission to cut out a grave for yourself here, having your grave on the height and chiseling a resting place for yourself in the rock? Beware, the Lord is about to hurl you away. He will roll you up tightly like a ball and throw you into a larger country. There you will die." Shebna's story is the ultimate blueprint of the dictator's life cycle. His desire to immortalize his power became the very catalyst for his humiliation. He was stripped of his office, the keys were taken, and he was cast aside and exiled to a foreign land, his monumental ego reduced to nothing. This biblical narrative reveals an immutable spiritual law that's found in Isaiah chapter 2 verse 17, that the arrogance of a man will be brought low and human pride humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. Dictators who believe like Shebna treating nations as their personal estates and citizens as tools for their own glorification will inevitably meet a similar fate. Earthly thrones built on injustice have expiry dates, and the higher a tyrant climbs, the more devastating their fall. When an oppressor sits on the throne of deceit, truth becomes the most dangerous weapon. History's most profound voices have consistently told that a ruler's mandate comes not from a barrel of a gun, but from the constant well-being and dignity of the people. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word." That's Martin Luther. Dear friends, dictators fear truth because their regimes rely entirely on falsehoods. They manipulate history, they censor the press, and jail political opponents simply because they are terrified of what the light will reveal. But the light cannot be extinguished. As history progresses, the collective conscience of humanity awakens to the fundamental reality that human rights are God-given, not government-granted. Emily Zola reminded us that truth is on the march, and nothing can stop it now. Those who subjugate their people fail to realize that the human soul possesses an inherent, unquenchable thirst for freedom. Oppressors may build prisons, draft harsh laws, and employ secret police, but they can never encapsulate the human mind. The desire to breathe free, to speak without fear, and to live in justice will always outlast the short-lived reign of any dictator. Nelson Mandela, an icon of hope, reminded us that fear is an illusion. You only fear what you don't understand, and when you understand, you overcome it. True leadership is not an exercise in domination. It is an act of profound service. The most powerful political and religious leaders in history have recognized that true greatness lies in empowering others, not in subjugating them. Matthew 23, verse 11. Jesus reminds all of us, "He who is greatest among you shall be your servant." Dictators fail to understand this. They confuse power with authority. They forget that power is the ability to break people, to force compliance through violence and intimidation. But authority is the ability to inspire people to build a future together based on mutual respect, trust, and shared vision. When a dictator chooses the path of tyranny, they reveal a profound internal weakness. They lack the moral fortitude required to lead by consent, resulting instead to brute force. A leader, Lao Tzu, once said that a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, "We did it ourselves." Great nations are not built by tyrants. They are built by collective brilliance, resilience, and the unity of the citizens. Dictators stifle this brilliancy, imposing a deadening conformity. By suppressing the voices of the people, they stunt their own nation's growth. Nelson Mandela said, "It is better to lead from behind and to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur. You take the front line when there is danger. Then people will appreciate your leadership." Contrast this with the mindset of a tyrant. A tyrant hides behind armored vehicles surrounded by loyalists while sending the sons and daughters of their own nation to die for preservation of a throne. This cowardice guarantees that their legacy will be one of the infamy rather than honor. When a dictator reads the writings of the past, they often look for maps on how to conquer. They should instead be looking at the warnings of how empires crumble, how governments stumble and break. Time and again, the very tools used to secure a dictatorship become the instruments of their destruction. John F. Kennedy said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Oppressors create pressure cookers of resentment. By denying citizens their fundamental rights, they leave the people with nothing to lose. When the oppressed finally cast off their chains, the seemingly indestructible walls of the dictator can collapse overnight. The spiritual and moral universe bends towards justice. No matter how long a regime oppresses its people, the day of reckoning always arrives at some time. This moral reality was central to the teachings of the greatest saints and religious leaders. When you read Luke chapter 1 verse 52, he has brought down rulers from their thrones, but has lifted up the humble. Just as the arrogant Shebna was cast out of his lofty position and stripped of his authority, so too will modern dictators be removed from their seats of ill-gotten power. Their palaces, their armies, and their monuments will eventually crumble into the dust, leaving behind only the memory of their oppression. Napoleon Bonaparte was quoted saying, "There are two powers in the world. The one is the sword, and the other is the spirit. In the long run, the sword will always be conquered by the spirit." History honors those who fight for freedom, justice, and betterment of humanity. It condemns those who ruled with an iron fist. The choice of any leader is stark. Rule through love and leave a legacy of progress, or rule through fear and be buried under the righteous indignation of history. Proverbs 31 verse 8 to 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Remember, a nation's true wealth does not lie in the opulence of its rulers' palaces or the size of its military. Its wealth lies in the freedom, creativity, and happiness of its people. Leaders who understand this elevate their nations to unprecedented heights. They do not need to demand loyalty, they earn it. John Quincy Adams is quoted saying, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." To the dictators who are listening to this voice, understand that your time is fleeting. The power you possess is not your own. It is borrowed from the very people you oppress. The thrones you sit upon are made of sand, and the tide of human progress is washing in. Mahatma Gandhi reminds all dictators, evil has no power to withstand the energy of light. Step down from your pedestals. Dismantle the systems of oppression. Embrace justice, freedom, and human dignity. If you refuse, look to the fate of Shebna. Your high walls will not protect you. Your wealth will not buy you immortality. And your tyranny will ultimately be broken by the unyielding spirit of humanity. Proverbs 14:34 reminds you, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. I conclude by reminding all dictators or tyrants that the future belongs to the free. No tyrant, no matter how brutal or cunning or powerful, can permanently stop the dawn of justice. The arc of the universe bends toward liberation, and humanity will inevitably step into the light of freedom.